Every bike restoration involves completely disassembling the carburetor to figure out what needs simply cleaned up, what needs fixed, and what needs replaced. On this particular carb, I could see right away that the starter plunger was corroded in place and would require drilling out. The other thing that was pretty quickly evident was the hole in the bottom of the float ball, or rather two holes. So this will show me fixing it with some generic brand JB Weld. This is pretty typical for how you're going to find the floats and the jets and the bottom of the bowl on a bike that you're restoring, in my experience. And here it is after doing a lot of cleanup and removing the pilot jets and the floats, and then in this area here I'm removing the pilot air screw and then looking for whatever else needs removed from the carburetor. At that point, everything goes in the ultrasonic cleaner, and I chase all of the small little tiny holes and tunnels in the jets with metal, sort of little copper wires, and then I polish up everything with some sort of type of metal polish, whatever I happen to have in the shop. Usually ends up looking pretty good. For the magneto stator, typically I just disassemble everything again, clean it up, polish it, replace the hardware. In this case, I later ended up replacing the points because they were not firing or working correctly. And here I'm finally seeing spark telling me that my magneto, stator, coil, and wiring are all working. Here I'm getting it popping on starting fluid. You notice there's no exhaust on there. And after I see it pops on starting fluid, I put the exhaust on. I prime the carburetor with gasoline, as the tank at this time wasn't on there yet, even though I think in this picture it is. Anyway, then I try to get it running just with gasoline and no starting fluid. Here's the first start. I picked up this fender, front fender, at the junkyard, and it looks pretty good, except the mounting tabs are wrong on it. If I actually use the holes where they're meant to be, the fender's going to be way too high for the look on this bike. So I'm going to lower it with a bracket. I'm going to make some aluminum strap that's going to lower it down to where it's nice and tight against the wheel, like they were originally. So while I'm finishing up other things on the bike, I start it up as much as I can, just to, get it warmed up and get it used to running and get it tuned and running and started.
running, and then it just stopped with a loud metallic sound, clank. So I pulled the jug off thinking it was probably the piston seized up and maybe it ran lean, but that's not the case. The piston rings are fine, the inside of the jug is fine, and the piston is fine, but the crank won't turn at all. So I don't know if it's a bearing failure or the crankshaft itself inside the engine casings. Maybe there's a clearance issue somehow. So I can see some foreign material in the hole where the rotary valve is. Which is obviously not supposed to be there. So something bad happened. So that hit something. And messed up that. Okay, I pried this off with working this screwdriver in and prying out on each side until it came out. Now, go take a look at it here. That was a dowel that got eaten. So I need to figure something.
So I completely disassembled the motor again and cracked the cases, and lo and behold found a set screw that had been sheared in half in the bottom of the case. So a set screw got sucked in through the carburetor. It got sheared by the rotary valve in half and then completely stopped the rotary valve. And that was the damage to the engine. So at this point I rebuilt the motor with parts, replacing the parts that were broken, and here we are.